Good morning, everyone. We're going through Joel. Last week we talked about the locust coming, and it was all this Egyptian imagery, the Exodus imagery of God coming in, and so it's talking about like these locusts coming and devouring everything. But also, what Joel is doing is comparing that to Assyria coming in and taking over. It's this almost scary image that we talked about last time. That they're almost like they're supernatural. They can just climb walls. They can do all these things, and there's this sense of like these people are like turning back to God because of this. And I love that one image in Joel that it says, "Rend your hearts, not your garments." We talked about that. And it's this doing the actual thing, like that. That's the all of the external things that we're doing pertain to that. It also reminds me of the book of Job. We're going to be doing Job in our midweek Lent for this year. And the big point of Job, I think, is at the very beginning of Job, Job is making sacrifices. And he's making sacrifices just in case his kids do something wrong. So he's hedging. Like he's just he's living his life trying to please God. And I think that's a great lesson for us. And I think this is what Joel is getting at too. It's like, don't just do this because you think this is how God is going to be happy with you. I would say that if you're doing it just to make God happy with you, you're doing it wrong. Because that's you're using God as a giant lucky rabbit's foot. That if I use God correctly, then finally I can have goodness. And I think this steeps into church life a lot of times where we will like, oh, well, I'll pray, I'll do these things, and if I live this honorable life, then God will bless me. And we end up making all of that more important than the actual important thing. And I think that's what Jesus was getting across when he's like, you guys would rather pray than actually love people. You guys would rather say that you are a follower of Jesus, or like that's not what Jesus says, a follower of God, than actually show the fruits of it. And this I think is what Joel is getting at. And a lot of these smaller prophets like Amos and all those, that's what they're getting at, is that it's not about just the pomp of it all, but it is the realness of the fact that God really saved them out of Egypt, and that they are really going through struggles with Assyria, and they can really repent and not go to the store shed of garments that the temple budget bought and rend their garments in front of God. So I don't know if any of that makes sense, but here we go. So the Bible Project, we ended at chapter 2, verse 27 last time, which is the beginning of chapter 3 in the Jewish Study Bible. But for today, I kind of want to begin with the Bible Project outline here, and it kind of starts doing things at around verse 20 of chapter 2. So I'd kind of like to start reading then. Let's actually back up to 18, because the New King James Version has that over there. Also, Kurt, just so that you know how the Bible study functions, if you haven't watched one of them yet, we listen to the New King James Version being read, but we like to have multiple versions around. And so that's just the reason why I used the New King James Version is because it's actually a pretty decent version, dramatized version. So, all right, so we will listen from chapter 2, verse 18 through the end of the book. All right? So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to listen to. All right. Let's see if I set this up correctly. Oh, and I did. That's good. All right. What did I say, 18?
Yep.
Oh, look at that beginning of a section. Here we go.
Then the Lord will be zealous for his land and pity his people. The Lord will answer and say to his people,
Behold, I will send you grain and new wine and oil, and you will be satisfied by them. I will no longer make you a reproach among the nations, but I will remove far from you the northern army, and will drive him away into a barren and desolate land, with his face toward the eastern sea, and his back toward the western sea. His stench will come up, and his foul odor will rise, because he has done monstrous things.
Fear not, O land. Be glad and rejoice, for the Lord has done marvelous things. Do not be afraid, you beasts of the field, for the open pastures are springing up, and the tree bears its fruit. The fig tree and the vine yield their strength. Be glad then, you children of Zion, and rejoice in the Lord your God, for he has given you the former rain faithfully, and he will cause the rain to come down for you, the former rain and the latter rain in the first month. The threshing floor shall be full of wheat, and the vats shall overflow with new wine and oil.
So I will restore to you the years that the swarming locust has eaten, the crawling locust, the consuming locust, and the chewing locust, my great army, which I sent among you. You shall eat in plenty, and be satisfied, and praise the name of the Lord your God, who has dealt wondrously with you. And my people shall never be put to shame. Then you shall know that I am in the midst of Israel. I am the Lord your God, and there is no other. My people shall never be put to shame. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams. Your young men shall see visions. And also on my men servants and on my maid servants I will pour out my spirit in those days. And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the coming of the great and awesome day of the Lord. And it shall come to pass that whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved.
For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem there shall be deliverance, as the Lord has said, among the remnant whom the Lord calls.
For behold,
Oh, sorry.
For behold, in those days and at that time, when I bring back the captives of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. And I will enter into judgment with them there on account of my people, my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations. They have also divided up my land. They have cast lots for my people, have given a boy as payment for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they may drink. Indeed, what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Sidon, and all the coasts of Philistia? Will you retaliate against me? But if you retaliate against me, swiftly and speedily I will return your retaliation upon your own head. Because you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my prized possessions. Also, the people of Judah and the people of Jerusalem you have sold to the Greeks, that you may remove them far from their borders. Behold, I will raise them out of the place to which you have sold them, and will return your retaliation upon your own head. I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the people of Judah, and they will sell them to the Sabaeans, to a people far off. For the Lord has spoken.
Proclaim this among the nations. Prepare for war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble and come, all you nations, and gather together all around. Cause your mighty ones to go down there, O Lord. Let the nations be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there I will sit to judge all the surrounding nations. Put in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, go down, for the winepress is full, the vats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision. For the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. The sun and moon will grow dark, and the stars will diminish their brightness. The Lord also will roar from Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem. The heavens and earth will shake, but the Lord will be a shelter for his people and the strength of the children of Israel.
So you shall know that I am the Lord your God, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then Jerusalem shall be holy, and no aliens shall ever pass through her again.
And it will come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drip with new wine, the hills shall flow with milk, and all the brooks of Judah shall be flooded with water. A fountain shall flow from the house of the Lord, and water the valley of Acacias. Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom a desolate wilderness, because of violence against the people of Judah. For they have shed innocent blood in their land. But Judah shall abide forever, and Jerusalem from generation to generation.
For I will acquit them of the guilt of bloodshed, whom I had not acquitted. For the Lord dwells in Zion.
Okay.
Uplifting.
All right. Well, it is.
It is actually.
Yeah, like that. All right. So let's go through this. So beginning with verse 18 and all that. So what kind of stood out to you? Not everyone at once.
No epiphanies.
No epiphanies? Oh, I had some. Like that.
Aren't you special?
It's what my mother told me.
One thing that just kind of came to mind when you're reading it, I mean, there's a lot of God's going to destroy them, God's going to bring your warriors and all that. And in Jesus' time, a lot of the people thought that's what their Messiah was going to do, come and just cleanse it. And I can see where they get that idea.
Yeah.
You know?
There's definitely a nuance in here, especially towards the end of 3, that because I was paying special attention to the beat your plowshares and the swords argument, and the often quoted "Let the weak say I am strong."
Yeah.
I don't think we should be quoting it. I don't think that's meant for us. I think that's meant for the enemies of God. That it's like, come. Like, look, all right, chapter 3, verse 9. Figure that out, Tracy. Like that. Actually, it's chapter 4, verse 9. It's 9, yeah. So, proclaim this amongst the nations. Like, so he's talking about all this judgment. And basically, I think what's happening here, so that you can kind of look at this the way that I am, is that all these people have mistreated God's people. Like that's, and you could see how they've mistreated it. Chapter 3, verse, I don't know, we'll call it end of chapter 2, in chapter 3, verse 2, the end of it. Like, whom have they scattered amongst the nations? They've divided up my land. And then look at how they have treated the people. They've cast lots for my people. They basically, it's like, all right, who's going to take who? Let's roll some dice to see who it is. That the people are so marginalized that they're just I can do whatever I want with them. It doesn't matter. I can take whoever I want just off of a simple thing. Like he's given a boy as a payment for a prostitute. Like that's, you want to say something?
I'm struck, new eyes.
Yeah.
I'm struck by the mercantile theme of this entire thing.
Yes.
Everything is buy and sell, quid pro quo, let's make a deal. Here's the payoff.
Yeah.
Perhaps I am revealing cynicism.
Okay.
This is not inspiring my heart. This is a deal that we're doing here.
So
And the Lord's involved in deal making.
So
straighten up, and I'll take care of you.
So I don't know. Let's remember what we talked about in Revelation. And I think a lot, like that's.
Don't you think they're talking about Revelation right there when they keep saying the valley of Jehoshaphat? That's where that.
Yes. Like this, Revelation is pulling from these ideas that have always been. It's basically the same thing. So think about what that valley. This is, if you're familiar, they call it in Revelation the Valley of Megiddo, and it was like the last battle. And so, but if you remember. I love that you said there's all this mercantilism to it, right? What was one of the horses of the apocalypse?
You had the scale and then
the scale,
the
merchant stuff, and then remember before as we're gathering to that giant battle of Megiddo. Remember what they were talking about? They had that was like the grapes of wrath. That the grapes of wrath was this. That they were so full and fat of themselves and their own abilities, and how they could just buy and sell whatever they wanted, and that they were going and they were squeezing it, and those grapes were just pouring out terribleness onto everything around them. The grapes of wrath comes from Revelation. I didn't realize that till this fall. So like that's and so, but it's
you're so young.
I am. 43, they so they all this stuff, they're all just buying and selling, and they think that's the most important thing. But Joel is revealing to us what the most important thing is. They're buying and selling this boy, they're buying and selling this girl for wine so they can drink. He's revealing, it's the people. It's the people.
God is speaking in a language that they understand.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you understand buying and selling and trading.
Yeah.
So let me speak in your language.
Mm-hmm.
You give me this and I'll give you that.
But I think also, I think all the Babylons of the world, is they view their power and their ability to buy, sell, and trade. And it's like, we can treat you however we want. We don't need you right now. We can just throw you away. And that is, I think, like a hallmark, so they can, so for my people, they just gamble for them, they buy wine for the price of a girl, you think about it, and then look at the Gospels. So we've been talking about Revelation, but look at the Gospels. You see basically that same idea coming for John the Baptist's head, that his head is lopped off because of a sexy dance of a young girl, and a feckless king. You're seeing that power of Babylon all around it there, right? And you're seeing all these things. So they sold my people. They've sold my people to the Greeks. That's slavery, right? They're selling them. They're sending them everywhere. For the slave sense. And then he says, let's see, verse 7. Behold, I will raise them out of the place to which they have sold them, and will return your retaliation upon your own head. This goes back to my favorite phrase. Careful what you wish for. You just might get it. You know? Careful what you wish for. Like if you want to create everything is about buying and selling, watch out, it may fall over your head.
At the risk of beating a dead horse, vis-a-vis mercantilism,
Yeah.
God is telling them, you misunderstand what the right coin of the realm is.
The white coin of
The coin of the
Yeah.
realm.
Okay,
You don't
yeah.
understand. You're misunderstanding it. You've got the
Oh,
wrong-
yeah,
you've got
yeah.
the
I see what
wrong-
you're saying.
you have the wrong-
You misunderstand what the currency is.
Exactly, precisely.
Yeah. It's not the buying and
Because you
selling.
misunderstand it, you're overvaluing it.
So that's I think that goes back to the rend your hearts, not your garments. You know, or that you've almost made the garments like another commodity. You know? And it's like, hey, actually be so look at the retaliation, verse 8 then. I will sell your sons and daughters. So that's just doing the same thing, right? Like it's falling, the judgment of what they have done is falling upon them, right? Into the hand of the people of Judah, they will sell them to Sabaeans. It's basically all the same stuff that they have done. Then, getting to the verses we're talking about, verse 9, proclaim this to the nations.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, it's a challenge. And so what is that proclamation to them? It's the same thing that we saw with that Battle of Megiddo. It's the same thing. It's like, yeah, you better get ready to use the power that you think that you have. So prepare for war. You know, do this. Wake up your mighty men. You know, let all the men of war draw near to them. You know what you should do? You should beat your plows into weapons. Let your weak say that they're strong. That's not for us.
Right, yeah. For the enemies of God.
It's almost a taunt.
It is.
It's almost a divine
like-
taunt. Come on.
It's like it's like, so you see that in Revelation, you see that in the Gospels, that this idea that it's like, oh man, if I can just be great. Remember the disciples were like, which one can we be to right and left in your glory? Which one of us is the greatest? It's the same pattern that we always go for. And here in the judgment of all this stuff, it's like you guys think that your greatness is what's saving you. And your power and your ability to buy and sell and all these things. It's like, go ahead, raise yourselves up. Prepare for the battle. Prepare for all that stuff. Turn your farming equipment into weapons. Do it. Go ahead. Tell your weak that I'm strong. That's the opposite of God's people. The opposite of God's people are always the little ones, you know, the outcasts, the humble, you know, like you see that constantly through that. That's what Samuel is about, like 1st and 2nd Samuel, like that. So assemble all you nations, gather all around, cause your mighty ones to go down there, you know. Oh Lord is what it says. Like, you know, all of these things. And I mean, because look at, like, let the nations be wakened, come up from the valley Jehoshaphat. For there I will sit to judge all the surrounding nations, put the sickle and the harvest is ripe. Like, it's like you guys are ready to be picked and destroyed. Like, then we go back to that grapes of wrath idea. For your vine presses are full, your vats overflow, and their wickedness is great. Like you're like fat grapes of wrath and awfulness just sitting on the vine ready to be harvested. Like that, what an image. Like it makes me, to be honest, I'm a little angry right now at the amount of times that I've heard people quote what the weak say, I'm strong. I like that. That's and that, like, because that's always, I'm like, that doesn't feel right. And that's the amount, like there are songs that say that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that song has been sung in this church while I've been pastor.
But without your biblical sophistication, it's understandable.
Oh yeah. No, it's understandable. Like that's like people miss the stuff, and I didn't understand it. Just before we just read it, then, like I was talking to Vance, I'm like, I don't know what this means. You know, like that's, but I was sitting there reading, I'm like, no, proclaim this amongst the nations. Like, and that's craziness. That's great. All right, I've talked and preached and yelled for a long time. Like that, what else, what else do you see here? Or you want to talk about all this?
Verse 17
Of what you're,
three. Jerusalem will be holy, never again will foreigners invade her.
mm-hmm.
But yet it happens over and over.
And so, yeah. What, before I answer, what do you think is going on there? What do you think, what is that saying?
That's why I'm asking.
Like that. I don't know, like what do we think? What is being said there? Like, because this is apocalyptic language, you know, which is apocalyptic language exists in the now, not yet. You know, like it exists in this. It's not necessarily future, but it's also now. You know, like so. What do you think? What do you think this is saying?
It's after the judgment.
It's after the judgment. So like that's kind of God's final word,
It'll
right?
be gone.
Yeah.
It's after the battle that we were just reading about.
Mm-hmm.
It's after the judgment.
Yeah. I think it also kind of declares, to go back to Mick's point about the currency, or that's what he said coin, I said currency. Like, what is the kingdom of God's currency? I'm not so much, it's in.
Let me interrupt. I think you got it back. The question is, what is the currency of the kingdom of God?
Yeah. And I think that's kind of what he's talking about. Like, I think he's going bigger with the kingdom. Now, here's our question.
What did you mean by that before you go into a question? He means something different.
I don't think it has to do with just those physical borders of like that's like the currency is people.
Okay.
Is the creation. Like, and that's, and so like he's going for the people, you know, like that's these people will, as Paul puts it, neither height nor depth nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate me from the love of God. I think Paul is putting it together for more Romanite thinkers like ourselves than for Hebrew thinkers. And I think Joel is, I think something similar is being said here. And so that it's not so much about the physical borders, but it is. Now, this is what I was going to say a second ago. There's multiple ways of reading the text. So there's three ways. This is what I was taught in seminary. There's three ways to read the text. So the first way is just the pages on the words on the page. Like you read very wooden, all you know, like that. You just really go to that. The second way is, well, what did the author intend when he wrote this? So then you see all the allegory and all that stuff. The third way is what was going on in the author's life in the world at that time that caused him to write those words on the page. So when Joel is writing this, and this by the inspiration, but you got to understand what I think inspiration is. And I could be wrong about this. Like that's
It's a short moment.
yeah, like that. But I think we all have been inspired in our speech and tongue over the years. That we have conversations with people, that we wrote something down or something like that, it was an encouragement or something like that, and you walk away from it, and you're like, I don't know where that came from. But it was also all the time I don't think that God is just like dictating what Joel is saying on this thing. It's very much coming through Joel by the Spirit, on these things. I think that there are sermons that have been inspired, that I've been delivered, but they still came from here, you know? They still sound like the uneloquent nature of myself that I often do. You know, I kind of brute force through the English language. And so I do surgery in sermons with a machete, you know, that's just kind of how I talk. But that, you know, that it's using that. And so Joel is in here and he exists in a certain time. Is Joel writing and saying, we are going to get to a time where the physical borders of Israel or Zion, that they're never going to be diminished? Probably.
Yeah.
But, you know, as we look at this now, are we going, oh, I think he's actually talking about something more, which I think is actually connected more in to what we saw beforehand with what the currency that the kingdom of God works in. That even these people that are stuck in Assyria and in Greece, have been sold to Greece, that I think they could look at this and go, yeah, God is going to protect even them, because the borders are there with them. Does that make sense?
I like it.
Like that's, so I think there's multiple readings in this, and that's okay to have multiple readings. And you can disagree with me too, but I think that's some of what's going on.
And just looking at the Bible Project, they're saying, you know, he has this section, the renewal of all creation.
Yeah.
And so could you read it that, you know, he's dealt with the evil. Wickedness and stuff is gone.
Yeah.
Now all that's left is part of the new creation.
Yeah.
Go into the creation.
Yeah.
Everyone here
That's a great,
belongs to God.
that's a great way of making it big again. Like it's like we're this all-encompassing idea that it's been, and that goes back to what Gloria was saying about Revelation. You sound like you wanted to say something. Okay. That goes, that it's this ending vision, but I have this like really like deflected version of what the end kind of looks like, because it's this now not yet thing. Because like you also see this like in the resurrection of Jesus, you know, like the conquering of all evil and all these things. Yeah, we still struggle with all this, but we know that the victory is already won. You know, and so we already, it's almost like in the Easter morning glory, we already can see the vision of what's at the end of Revelation and what is at the end of Joel here. And that we already see it and we already actually have it, but yet we still struggle. Like that's, and I think that's kind of, and as you see how Joel kind of cycles through the book there, it's almost like he's dealing with, well, how do we know that God is always with us and yet people are sold in this land? You know? It's like, but they're always looking at like, no, but God is always with the people, even those that were sold. You know? I don't know if that makes any sense or not. I feel like I've been talking a lot.
I even like the way our paper wrote Joel. The name starts out straggly and shaky, and it winds up firm and strong.
Yeah.
At the very end.
Yeah.
Just the lettering.
Yeah.
Is to say that's how the chapter goes.
Mm-hmm.
Starts out questioning or shaky and yet winds up with strength.
Yeah, and I think you see that. So, like, you know, and what I think this says for us is, what's our currency? You know, what's our currency? You know, it is, you know, we think about us as citizens of Port St. Lucie, of the state of Florida, of the United States, of the world, of the kingdom of God. What's our currency? And, you know, are we building up our grapes of wrath with our buying and selling, you know, or is it about people? Like that's, and you know, it's going to, you know, so this is a constant evaluation that we have to be thinking about. And all these things, and we're going to get it wrong sometimes. And our wrong, let's see, as it says at the end of chapter 2, verse 20, that it says, and his foul odor will rise because he has done monstrous things, Like we'll see that. Because you could see that all around, that there's monstrous things, and a lot of times those monstrous things will be will be revealed, like that's like I think an example that isn't just in the news right now is like the Catholic Church scandal with all the molestation stuff. Like it's all of a sudden this kind of what looked to be good and holy, all of a sudden has this kind of monstrous stench to it. But there's so many of these that are around, that are revealed in that way. And he says, like, in the midst of all of that, like, you'll be able to see them and fear not, like, notice the pastures are springing up. Look for the fig tree that's bearing fruit, that's yield. The vine is yielding their strength. Like look for all this. Look for the fruitfulness.
Yet even now, that's what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
All this terrible spirit, yet even now,
yeah,
you can rely on God.
Yeah.
All of this stuff.
Yeah.
It is that enduring through all of the locusts, through all of the sinning, yet even now,
yeah,
you have an opportunity.
Well, that and the way you put it there reminds me, like during lockdown, a Fred Rogers quote came up to the top where he said, "Always look for the helpers amidst of all the tragedy." Like that. Are you guys familiar with that quote? I don't know. Maybe it's a millennial thing, but yeah, it's like in the midst of all of the terriblenesses around, like look for the helpers. They're there. Like, and it's like, and look for the fruitfulness. Yet even now, because it's there, and you see that God is always pushing that forward. It's so easy to, I don't know, just look at the terribleness, and it's so easy to become part of the grapes of wrath. It's so easy to become part of like, oh, this is all just transactional. Every relationship I have is a transaction, of trying to, like all of those things. And it's not about it all being transactional. Not in the kingdom of God.
But if you think it's all transactional, that's all you'll see. And if you think it's about love and other people, you find that.
Yeah.
I mean,
you start seeing the
brain
fruitfulness.
does that. I think, and that's how God made us, So if you stay in the Word and understand, look, God wants me to love people and be out there, you're going to see them, like you're going to see the helpers. Wow, that's a horrible tragedy. Wow, what great people that are there.
Yeah, but isn't that God's currency?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He tells you to lay up your treasures in heaven.
Yeah. And to go, I really like, like how this is ending right now, because it reminds me of like when we were going through Matthew last year, and at the end of the Sermon on the Mount, and Jesus says, build your house on the rock, not on the sand. And when I came away from that, it was like, oh, like he built it on soft rocks. That Christ called Peter the rock. And yet Peter, then right after that, he calls Peter Satan, But like that's it's this build, and you see that that's what God has done, is that we understand the church to be the people. It is not the building, it's not the principles, like that's it's the people, and God has that someone raised their, did I raise my hand? I did raise my hand. Why did I raise my hand? like that. And so so it's that currency of God, and this is constantly established as we're going forward. So we rend our hearts, not our garments. We we look not for just the buying and selling, but how is this affecting the people around us? And we see that it's not about, oh, I'm just going to say I'm strong, or like, oh, now is the time to fight and put our farming equipment into our equipment of war. But it's looking around and seeing the fruitfulness of God that is around us and being part of that fruitfulness. And that's difficult. But it's good. And it's easy, but it's hard. And like that's, and so yeah, no, I think, like, I wasn't expecting it to go there. But when I saw in chapter 3, verse 9, and it said, proclaim this to the nations, I was like, oh, that's getting ready for the battle of Megiddo in Revelation. When all these people are taking all I think I wrote next to it, beating their shields. Like, those battle scenes where everyone's like jazzing themselves up and they're beating their shields and like all these things. Like, yeah, go ahead, beat your shields. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so now juxtapose that against Isaiah or Micah, where he says to change the reverse of that, to change your.
I think that is the way. I think that's the way. Because I think this, to use a rough word, but I think it's optimal here. It's a bastardization of that. I know. I know you would.
Restore my heart.
I know. But I think that's intentional with what he's doing there.
It's for the enemies.
It's for the enemies. Yeah.
People can all go to war again once he's dealt that road.
Yeah.
It's after the judgment. In the Isaiah quote, it's after judgment.
Mm-hmm. Like you don't have to do that anymore. And yeah. So that's.
I found that interesting. The quote is just reversed.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was struggling with dealing with that. Like I was like, oh man, why is that there? And it's like it's because it's not for us.
I wonder if that was a common thing back then, because all men participated in war when there was war, because wars in Georgia, but they had to be farmers and stuff too. So, and metal wasn't something that you just went to Lowe's to buy. So did you take your plow and make it into a shield? Did you have to make your weapons and hold that?
I read it may have been in the Jewish Study Bible where they were talking about that. It could have been this one too. I think it was actually this one as I looked down there. But yeah, that would have, you're taking that stuff and you'd, like tune it down, and that's because it's not, you think about it, if your main farming equipment is your hoe and like all those things, that's a serious implement, right? And you look at modern day too. Like, look, in the times of war, look at what we spent up, like how John Deere, Ford, and all these things become,
They become swords.
They become swords. They become the manufacturers of swords. And think about how much buying and selling and wealth creation gets created off of that, Like, we don't have to imagine far outside of this, like that's where I think it's, so what does this mean for us? Like, that we continue to look for the fruitfulness, not the fruits of conquest and all those things, those 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, but the fruits of God's currency. And it's in these people. So, yeah, that's good. Anyone have any other ideas or thoughts they would like to add to this? I've been talking a lot.
I have an interesting note in the Jewish Study Bible on verse 19, Edom. It is, Edom is elsewhere condemned for joining in with the Babylonians at the destruction of the first temple, a late antique and medieval Jewish interpretation associated Edom first with the Roman Empire and then later with Christendom.
Oh, it's later. That's for the Jews.
Consider the source.
That's great. But like, I like that. I wrote Babylon on verse 19. That it's like that Egypt shall be a desolation, Edom will be a desolate wilderness because the violence against the people of Judah. Like it's like he's just listing off Babylons. You know, that's what he's doing. And as we talk about this, I tell you guys, as soon as I made the realization that all these big empires are just Babylons, the Bible opened up to me. Like that, it's like, like we're not talking about this. We're talking about this. Like looking all around you. And I love that Egypt shall be a desolation. Like, that sounds to me like when Pharaoh took his armies to the sea. The horse and rider are thrown into the sea and just decimated. Like that. That's in his own vain pursuit, his own. His hatred was like heavy grapes sitting. Like it's interesting, like all this stuff over there that was just pressed. Like that's. I don't know. It's all interesting stuff. Anything else? Anything else? We kind of didn't talk about verse 28, but it's all kind of the same stuff, though. It's 28 through 32 of chapter 2, also known as
Chapter 3.
Chapter 3 in the Jewish Study Bible.
Again, consider the source.
Again, is there's all this stuff that we quote all the time. Like that. That is what Peter quotes. Verse 28 on Pentecost, and it shall come to pass afterwards that I'll pour out my spirit on all flesh. And your sons and daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, young men will see visions. And so think about what Peter, as he is quoting that, as the Spirit is coming onto him, and all these people are like, these guys are drunk, and stuff like that. He's quoting this time where it's like, no, God is putting everything to rights. That you guys are all just transactional. That's all you care about all this stuff. But God's currency is, as he quotes to David and Samuel, is of the heart. God's currency is, as Jesus is standing there with his disciples, wondering which one of them is the greatest, and Jesus puts the child right in the middle of them. Like that's as Jesus is rushing to heal some guy's daughter, some religious official's daughter. The currency is a woman who's been bleeding for 12 years, touches his cloak, and he's like, who touched me? And all these transactional people around there, I'm like, what do you mean who touched you? Like everybody touched you, Jesus, like that's, and he stops, like, and for that woman, it's the same thing with the guy who was filled with a legion of demons, that everyone else had thrown him away, and Jesus heals him. And it's the same with, Jesus coming out of the tomb with his scars still, that the hurts and the pains of the weak still matter, like, and that's, so maybe people that do not say you should be strong like that, because we were not saved with strength. We were saved in weakness of Jesus dying on the cross. And so, yeah, I think that's what's going on there. I think that's what's going on. So, any last things before we're done? No? Well, all right. So next week, what should we do? Should we do Amos? It's the next book. It's the next page. Should we do Amos? Sure. All right, let's do Amos. It'll be basically the same thing, but Amos is very cantankerous. It's also a little longer. So, all right, we'll do Amos next time. All right, so so for everyone that's watching pre-recorded on YouTube, thanks for joining us. And